Hi, welcome to Darren's Lightroom tutorials. In this lesson, I'm going to explain how you assign Photoshop elements to be an external editor. You would think the people at Adobe that wrote the software would recognize their own software when you install Lightroom. However, that's not the case, and I'll show you the right hoops to jump through to make everything work smoothly and correctly. If it is not working correctly, what you will find is when you try to edit your photo in Photoshop Elements as your external editor, when you do your editing and click on Save, the photo does not update itself in Lightroom. So if this situation is happening to you, please watch carefully and I'll show you how you can fix things up. First of all, if I right-click on my photo and I hover the mouse over the option of Edit In, we can recognize in the drop-down flyout menu that there is no Photoshop Elements editor that's been assigned. So we'll fix that up very easily and very quickly. I'm going to go to the Edit menu in Windows. In Apple, in the upper left-hand corner, beside the Apple logo, click on the word Lightroom. In both cases, find the option called Preferences. Click on that, which will bring you to the Preferences section in the Lightroom program. If you've been here before, it will leave you on the last tab that you were on. If you've never been into the Preferences before, you will start at the General tab. Simply find where it says External Editing, click on that to open up the Editing tab. Top section is reserved for Photoshop CC or Photoshop CS. Surprisingly, Photoshop has engineered it so it will recognize that software automatically, and if that software is installed in your computer, you don't need to take any further action. Down below, the Additional External Editor section is where we go to assign our Photoshop elements to be the external editor. The format options down here on the left-hand side should all be at default settings, and normally we don't want to go in and touch these. So if they are there, we'll just leave them alone for the moment. Application not specified. To the right of that, there's an option of Choose. Click that, and it will take you to the Programs Files folder on your computer. Now in Windows, if you have a 64-bit operating system, there's a Program Files folder and a Program Files x86 folder. You need to be careful because if you look in the Adobe folder in the Programs files, you will not find Adobe Photoshop Elements. I've got Adobe Premiere Elements 12, but I do not have my Adobe Photoshop Elements. So to find that, we simply go on the left-hand side and we scroll down to find the Program Files bracket x86. Make that the active folder. Within that, find the Adobe folder, double-click that, and then you're in the Adobe section where all the Adobe programs can be found. Down at the bottom, you should find your Photoshop elements. If you have versions 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, it should all be similar in how this works. You just find the folder where it says Photoshop Elements 12. Now in 12, and I'm not sure in other versions of Elements, they've changed the look of the icon of the folder and they gave it a customized folder icon. In any case, we double-click that to get into the folder, and then in this folder, we will find all of the files. The one that you're looking for, and this is very important, the one you are looking for will be called Adobe Photoshop Elements Editor. Now, in my operating system, I've turned on file extensions, so it's showing the .exe at the end of the name. On your operating system, it may not show that, so the one thing to watch for is make sure there is no little arrow icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the icon for the program. That is the shortcut. You do not want that one. You want the one that says Photoshop Elements Editor, and click on it to select it. Click on Open, and we will see the application is now specifying Photoshop Elements Editor.exe. We can save this preset and give it a name, so we'll click here where it says Custom, and we will choose the option of Save Current Settings as a new preset. We'll call this one Elements 12, and click on OK, and in the dialog box, we'll click on OK one more time, and that will now assign Photoshop Elements to be our external editor. Now in the Apple operating system, I will just bring up this window here. to show you that when you're selecting it, you're looking for the folder of applications, which it will choose automatically for you. And you're going to locate Adobe Photoshop Elements, and again with your version that you have, 10, 11, or 12. The one thing in the Apple operating system to be very careful of is you want to choose the Support Files folder, and within that you will find the Adobe Photoshop Elements Editor icon. I'm using this page from Matt Kolosky's website that he's got, or his blog that he's got, so I didn't have to dig out my Apple computer and do a screen capture of this. So there's lots of information on the internet. I didn't find one for Elements 12, but they're all very similar in how they work. So now, if I right-click on the file, on the picture, and go to Edit In, what I will find is that it's given me two options for Photoshop Elements. It's given me the one that I created, Photoshop Elements 12, and it's also given me another one in the upper section. You may notice that this dialog box, this flyout dialog box, is divided up into three sections. Upper section has two items. The middle section is where you can assign as many external editors as you want. If you have Nik software installed or you have Un1 software installed, then all of those applications will be in there in that middle section. And then the lower section is designed for Photoshop CC. Now the second item down from the flyout menu is the same as the one we just created. It's a funny thing, but once you assign it as an external editor manually, it picks it up automatically. You would think that the engineers at Adobe could fix that for us, but so far they have not. So I'll show you how we can further tweak this if you want to go further. Now, if you're the casual average user, you can turn this off. Thanks for listening. Everything will work smoothly in the future. If you want to be an advanced user, word of caution. You may not be able to do some editing steps if you go in and tweak this. But I'll show you how you can if you do want to take advantage of some of the increased bit depth options that are available. Go back into my preferences and back to the external editing section. The file format, we want to keep that as TIFF. Now if you go to choose any other option, what will happen is Lightroom will warn you of what can happen if you choose. So for example, you think, well, PSD files are better, but it tells you that they can be less efficient than TIFF files with respect to metadata updates. And you may not have everything running properly. So when you go in and you change these things, it's user beware, right? Just make sure you understand what you're doing. I'm going to leave this as a TIFF file. But what a lot of people might like to do is they say, well, I want to put my color space in the Pro Photo color space because that's the way it is in the Photoshop CC program. And I want to change my bit depth to the 16 bits per channel. That gives me more maneuvering room when I'm doing my editing. Now you can maneuver yourself right out of an option to edit because a lot of things in Photoshop Elements will be grayed out, inaccessible, if you're choosing advanced color space options or you're choosing advanced bit depth options. So just beware that these advanced options may limit you in what you can do. So to save this as a new preset, we go back to the preset name and it's picked up that we've made some changes, so it's add the word edited to this. So we'll click on this and we'll choose the option of Save Current Settings as New Preset. We don't want to update the current preset because we want to let ourselves know that this is an advanced set of settings. So Save Current Settings as New Preset, and we'll give it the name of Elements 12, and we'll call it Expert. Or you could put in 16-bit mode or Pro Photo color space mode. You can be as descriptive as you want. Click on Create, creates a new preset. Click on OK, closes the dialog box. And then if you right-click on it, find Edit In, you will now locate your two options of your Elements 12 that you created first, and then if you followed along, your Elements 12 Expert mode. Now what can happen is maybe you've created too many of these and you say, well, I don't want Elements 12 Expert anymore. Maybe you bought Photoshop CC, so you just want to get rid of some clutter. So I'll show you how you can delete a preset. We would go back to the Preferences section, back to the External Editing, click on the Preset section, and Elements 12 Expert is selected. and then come down here to the section where it says Delete Preset Elements 12 Expert. Click on that, choose the option of Delete, and it will delete that preset. It will, however, leave the additional external editor settings set to the way you had last set them. So if you're assigning another program to be an external editor, you would need to change these back to the way they were, which is sRGB and 8 bits. Click on OK, and then you're all set. I hope that clears things up for you or gives you some ideas or options of things you can do. Thanks for watching.